In this episode of Mighty Car Mods, we're getting this filthy Nissan Cube repaired, painted, and back on the road in all of its JDM supercharged glory. So I've decided to paint the calipers of the Nissan Cube red, not just for the extra 25 kilowatts that it so desperately needs, but also because it's a simple, cheap, easy, and fast way of giving your car a little bit of extra bellissimo pizzazz. Now, if you want a detailed video on this, Mighty Car Mods made a video on how to paint your brake calipers like 15 years ago. Dave also has one on his channel, which you can check out. I'll link both of them below. But instead of just kind of cleaning it up, masking it, and then adding lots of coats of red, I'm actually going to use an etch primer in white. Now, an etch primer obviously means that we get a better, longer lasting result anyway. But by doing it in white, it means that our red is really going to pop, and we can just do 2 or 3 coats and it should look absolutely amazing. Now, Dave has said that there are obviously more precise and better ways to do this if you want more longevity or quality. But if I was looking for longevity and quality, I wouldn't have bought the cheapest Nissan Cube off the internet, would I? No. Anyway, thank you for lowering your standards for me.
No worries, mate. Too easy. Hey, we'll get it done.
All right, what happens now?
So we've sanded the primer. Now we're ready for the base coat. I'm going to spray the base coat over this primer, and then we'll clear coat over that base. Once it dries, we'll sand it and buff it.
Between each coat, we're using a heat gun to speed up the process. But while we're here, we also need to fix the cloudy headlights, which look terrible. We're going to sand them back to remove all the dead yellow plastic and see if we can bring them back to life by laying on some clear coat. And while Dave's doing that, I'm going to add an extra 25 kilowatts. So I am painting the calipers a combination of red, magenta, yellow ochre, reduced black, and white. And you might think that sounds like a strange combination, but if you combine all of those colours together, what you end up with is Brembo red for the extra kilowatts, which we so desperately need. How are you going over there, Isaac? Come over here. Let's see what's going on. Over here, look what's happening. Mate. We're rebuilding things. We're making gaskets. Yep. Where there is no gaskets, we're making a gasket out of goo.
That's right. Mate, we're sending it. This thing's going to be awesome.
Well done.
I hope it actually makes boost.
Well, if it doesn't, at least we had a nice time hanging out.
And it looks super pretty.
It looks great. While Isaac's getting the supercharger back together, I'm laying on the red caliper paint, and I've got to say it looks absolutely incredible going over the white primer. It really pops, and this is an easy little job you can do at home, and you don't even need to remove the brakes from the car. That is only one coat, and I will not paint a brake caliper red again without putting white etch primer on it. So there you go. Go back to the original Mighty Car Mods video and leave a comment saying, yeah, just do this, but white etch primer first. As per, did you do white etch primer in your video of how to paint brake calipers?
Yes.
You did?
Yep.
Okay. So watch his video instead of ours. The next part of this rebuild process is a proper deep clean of all of the supercharger components. The bearings from the supercharger have actually cleaned up very nicely, and there are some unique attributes to these bearings which makes them a little bit tricky to get. Now, we emailed Agura to ask if they've got a rebuild kit or some spares. They said that was not available, and what they recommended we do was go to Impel or Nissan in Japan. Neither of which we have time to do today, but they do appear still to be working within their tolerances from what we can tell. So we're just going to repack them with grease and give them a little birthday. So basically that's going to involve getting some grease in the hand, and we're just going to repack them like this. And once they're all packed and greased up, we can put it back together and then send it to the moon. While it would be nice to replace any old supercharger parts with new components, rare and weird cars like this often use rare and weird parts, like the rare and weird beards on the people that own them. And now with the bearings installed but no gaskets handy, Isaac is going to make some from scratch. What a legend. And with that, the Supercharger is now back together, ready to be installed in the car. But there's a couple of other things to do first. Because Dave's about to get some clear in a gun, we're going to clear coat the headlights. The problem is when you piss on these or use toothpaste or avocado or your more traditional methods of using polish, it can look nice and clean, but it can go cloudy again quickly. But by clear coating it, we lock in the clearness. We lock in the clearness. I'm trying to say we're going to lock in the effects of our sanding, but first, some clear is getting laid on our freshly painted bonnet, and then I'm going to lay some over the headlights. And I'm sure you can agree, this looks absolutely incredible, particularly when you compare it to the other one. This is amazing. While we've got some clear in the gun, we're also going to add a coat to the brake calipers for extra shine. And then it's time to move on to the big repair, which is the special edition in-pull rear bar. While the bog on the rear bar is drying, we're going to move on to prepping the wheels for paint, which involves a quick clean, sand, and then thin metal colour sample cards to keep the paint clear of the tyres. You can also use playing cards if you want a simple way to do it at home. So these here are our wheels, which appear to be kind of copies of some Ray's CE28Ns, but kind of a multi-stud sort of cheap version. But that is what's on the car. So that is what we're going to use. Someone's curved them savagely, but really high up. So I'm not sure exactly how they've done that. So basically what we've done, we've whizzed them back. We've repaired the edges where we can. We've done it quite quickly. And then Dave's brought these that are little metal spray out cards. They are this color because that's kind of a common color for primer. So you can test things out, used in body shops and things like that. Now, I'm normally a bit of a black wheel kind of guy. I like the look of that, but we are going for something different. And Dave's mixed us up something very special. Look at this. Look at that. Dave, can you come around here for a second and tell us exactly what's in there? I'm seeing lots of sparkle and lots of fleck. So can you tell us what the recipe was for this?
Yeah, so it's just a coarse metallic silver, then copper. Then I thought I'd just chuck in some copper pearl, some gold pearl, and basically a little bit of straight gold as well.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, bit of black too.
It looks so good. So obviously when we paint the wheels, you want to do like an etch primer. We want a uniformed look on the wheels. So we could use the same kind of white etch primer we're using on the calipers, but then we'd have to really get in here. Being that these are mostly black already, we'll use a black etch primer and a gun, cover that up, make it look as uniformed as possible, and then on with the bronze.
A few coats of bronze and some clear coat.
So good. So good.
The silence is killing me. I need to hear the only voice that I thought was real to me. Did we run out of time or did we grow tired? Were we young and in love or were we both lying? I'm dying slowly inside, so I turn to these beats to take me on a ride. Dropping fast, now everything's looking slow. I'm pushing into the limit with the pedal to the flow. Physically you were there, but your heart wasn't. I drink a few glasses of wine and you start fussing. You couldn't see the pain I had in my eyes, trying to pick up the pieces. I felt the truth of your lies, but I kept it inside, holding on, just hoping we could survive. Cause the same thing that was killing me was keeping me alive. This isn't how our story is supposed to be. The little hope we have left now means the most to me.
I gave you everything, and you gave it all away. What can I do when there's nothing left to say? You were everything I was, and everyone I am.
Yeah.
Is this the
After a
end?
while, nothing was ever the same. I did everything you asked, and I'm still the one to blame. I admit I was a fool for forever making you sad. What matters is good moments outweighing all the bad. I know you still remember all of that. When I left but came back, we made love that night. I never boarded that flight, cause it never felt right being distant. And was it worth losing you over? I couldn't risk it. Something told me you needed me more. Tears of joy when you opened the door. As rain poured from the dark sky, I held you close. I realized what I needed the most. And God knows, how can something last so long and be gone in an instant? I wish that you could just please stay strong. With every moment you're gone, I'm losing my breath. I can't lose the only person I have left.
I gave you everything, and you
people, here's a little update. For starters, look at this bonnet. It looks absolutely amazing. You probably remember there was a big bird turd right there. What have we done?
Sanded it, put a bit of body filler. You did that. We primed it, then we put the paint, clear coated, blended the clear, sanded, and then buffed the clear.
You may remember this rear bar used to be in 3 pieces, and as you can see, there were substantial repairs done here and here. But if we flip it over, look at that. Now, for a quick couple of hour job, I reckon that's actually pretty amazing. It's not perfect, but it is 1 piece. And for our purposes, I think that's fantastic. It's also got a beautiful little bit of fleck in it. How did it get such a lovely fleck in it, Dave?
So I painted the wheels, and then I clear coated the wheels and clear coated this at the same time.
I love that.
Didn't clean the gun properly, so there's a bit of flake from the wheels in the bar.
I like that.
It's not bad.
It's special. It's exactly what I asked you to do. You said no, and I said do it anyway, because he wants to do it all properly. He's like, I'm going to clean it, and I'm like, no. I want fleck in the bar. And then he says, but there's not fleck in the rest. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I want fleck in the bar. And what did you say to me?
I said, fine, I'll do it.
There it is. We've got to find a way to attach it. Currently, it was held on, previously with 4 tech screws and what looks like some double-sided tape. We also need to fix up the exhaust because the exhaust has been rubbing on this part of it here. That is an excellent little backyard DIY job. We've also got these little fog light covers that have been painted now as well.
With fleck.
With fleck as well, which is going to look great on the front. So, all in all, heaps has been done, but there's still a bit more to do. Whole car needs a proper polish, a proper detail on the outside. Wheels have got to go on. I'll admit now, didn't get it done in the time frame I wanted it to. You're like, hey, you're wearing different clothes. Yes, it's been a few days now. It wasn't the one day that I had stupidly expected it would take because there was too much to do and the car's too broken, just too flogged. But we're bringing it back.
While we've been busy on all the bodywork stuff, Isaac has been busy working on the Supercharger install, which is not really going to plan.
Okay, so this is the tensioner that came with the import kit, and struggling with the nut, trying to take the belt off when we removed the Supercharger. So we cut the belt, and this we realised is actually a left-hand thread nut, but it was already galled to pieces. Tried welding things to it, and then we determined that it's actually left-hand thread. So now I have to come up with some sort of solution to repair the tensioner, which is probably going to involve some cutting and some welding and some tapping. And I'm going to put a regular right-hand thread M10 nut on this to then tension the system. You can see it's a little bit home job. There's been drilled out nut here, which wasn't us. This was maybe a previous mechanic's attempt. And we're going to try and make it right with a new belt so the Supercharger actually works. Right, so this has been way more work than what we thought. Every single nut and bolt in this thing has been stripped, threaded, nuts rounded over. Whoever was in here last has just made a complete mess of the thing, and we're trying our best just to patch it up. I guess, buying cars at this sort of price point and with questionable history too, you just don't know what you're going to find, and we've still got heaps of question marks related to whether it's actually going to run or not. So we're just going to hook in and see where we end up.
It's important to remember that this car actually never worked properly ever since I bought it. And while we're doing everything we can to get it back on the road, it doesn't mean that there isn't something catastrophically wrong with the engine. We're installing a new air filter and filling it up with Castrol Edge, which is what we run in all of our cars. We're basically trying to give this little car the best chance we can, because up until this point, it's been fully neglected.
How good are fake wheels? They are looking a whole lot better than they looked before. Look at this mad finish. It actually looks incredible that this is the same wheel. Very, very basic fix and repair, basically some sanding and some basic preparation and some paint. This can now go on the car, and there's a few other little fixes that we've got to do as well. I'm going to tint the front windows because I kind of want it to look the same. I know it's like JDM to have the backs dark and the front light clear, but I think it'll look better and a more cohesive package to have it all the same. Then the rear bar, which is over here. That's got to go back on. The whole car needs like a polish and a final tidy up. And then I'll get to drive it for the first time. Now, has all of that work on the Supercharger been worth it? You and me, we're about to find out. Or is it you and I? What's the correct grammar there? I can hear my mum in my head telling me I got it wrong. Anyway, together, we're going to go for a drive.
The wheels are going on, and over those freshly painted red calipers, they look straight up fire, no cap, sleigh lit, low-key legit, dope, blueberry dog. They're freaking totes yassified. Next up, the rear bar is going on, and it is looking so sweet, I'm gonna need a dentist to check my toilet for cavities. I have no idea what that means. I'm making this up as I go, bear with me. B-E-A-R. The exhaust never sat straight on this car, so I need to adjust some of the bends and also get some cable ties around those saggy hangers. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And with that nicely sorted, now I can install these fog light covers. We only had one, but we picked up another from a cube wrecker, then painted it the same color as some of the car. We also managed to pick up 2 indicators because we're missing one. There's a couple of different styles, but we managed to get 2 the same. It was way more work than I expected, but this little cube looks freaking amazing.
So as you can see, the front window here has no tint on it, but the back is actually really dark. So I want to try and get that looking the same as that. Nice and quick. Boom, that's done. The car is tinted.
So the very last thing to do is give this little Nissan Cube a proper polish so it's ready to hit the street in style.
People, I'm just going to make the bold claim right now that we have brought this Cube back from the very edge of destruction, the edge of devastation. It was teetering on the cliff of shit. And now look at it. The paint has been fixed up. The wheels have been painted. We've got our mad red calipers. We've fixed up a bunch of bodywork. The bonnet itself is looking great. The rear bar is excellent. The inside is now clean. Doesn't smell like a used anymore. And most importantly, thanks to Isaac, the Supercharger has been rebuilt. Now, before the Supercharger basically did absolutely nothing, but now the Supercharger and its surrounding systems have been serviced, the engine has been serviced, and now we get to go for a drive and see if it was all worth it. And how will we know if it's all worth it? Because I'll press that little Supercharger button and hopefully it works. So let's throw a key in, let's start this little up and go for a drive. And hopefully we've solved the Rubik's Cube. All right, let's start her up. Let's go for a drive. Sounding smooth. Okay, car is working. It's feeling good. And now is the moment of truth. We got the Supercharger button down here. Are you ready for boost? Yes, I am. Let's go. Oh, yes! It actually works properly. Listen to this. I know this kind of car is not for everyone. Weird, 7-seater, supercharged, but you've got to admit it's actually pretty freaking cool. And now it's actually sort of quick. It's got a decent kick to it. I mean, a decent kick, it's like being kicked by a baby pigeon. It's like a little It's not like being kicked by a donkey when you're in a car with like proper boost curve, but it works. And this car was destined for the scrap heap, and I am so proud that we managed to save it and bring it back because they're cool, they're weird, they're quirky, they smell weird. Not just the owners of them, I mean the cars themselves, but it can now go back into circulation. This is a catch and release.
And release it we will. There was a lot more work in this than expected, but it seems to be that is always the case. But I am so proud of getting this little classic Japanese car back on the road. It may not be to everybody's taste, but I think one day these cars might just be a special hero, right up there with the Skylines and actually no, it's not going to be one of those heroes, but it's pretty cool and it's great to get it back on the road.